Hi, my name is Lenore Von Stein, and this is another episode of The Facts. And I'm here tonight with Beth Griffith, Bern Nix, and Andrew Bolotowsky. And we're continuing this work I call Palau from the Future. It's about somebody living in the year 3000, a woman living in the year 3000, and when all the economic problems have been solved and health problems have been solved and everybody's looking really good and dying, it seems to me the prediction is that people will die, suddenly their cells will give out because there's only so long they think cells can last, but everything else can be fixed and for a long time. So people will be playing tennis, getting married. I don't know if they'll be having kids, but for a long, long time, life will continue. And so they'll go through different professions. They'll realize themselves and live past the neuroses of their childhood, and will have the benefit of these more fully realized personalities. So this character that we're dealing with, we're doing rehearsal now for the episode, and it's also an episode, the rehearsal. That's the way The Facts works. She's looking for her next love relationship. One of the issues in this period of time is that love relationships last about 6, 7, 8 years, and she's trying to figure out what her next move is. And she's very sensitive. She doesn't want to be hurt, and okay, we're going to try one of the tunes that we're going to be playing later in this episode, and we're going to play it right now, called Guitar. And so I'm struggling with this, my part in this. So we're going to practice it a little bit. I wrote it, but okay, so let's do it. Should I call the time?
Sure.
Or, okay, slow. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Shaped by your culture, deep of reason.
We did it again. Sorry.
Absolutely. I just sort of hung around.
Yeah.
Hang around.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Your pieces have that built in.
Thank God.
Quality. Yes, exactly. You have foresight.
Okay. You call the time, Bern.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's not say
Let's not say what I think
sit
is
here and
pretty
crude.
compared
What
to
was
what
it?
it
Linked to
could
what
be
I bought. Partially shaped by your culture, devoid of
As I'm struggling with it, there's kind of this archiness about me that, is not what I want, but that's okay. So let's talk a little bit more about this period of time that we're going to be painting a picture of. So I said everybody's looking pretty good. Both men and women, they stay healthy, they're young looking. Everyone looks around 25 years old for their whole life. But many men still seem to prefer young women. So it's not a matter of firm flesh or anything, because everybody has firm flesh. So one of the things that Palau is doing is she's investigating this phenomenon. She's trying to figure out what's going on here. Perhaps it's feeling younger again, and what is that made up of? Maybe a little less purpose, blinder, wilder. Women seem to prefer people close to their own age, and even though everybody looks around the same age, you can see the difference. You can see it in their eyes. You can see somebody is no matter how much. I remember one time years ago seeing this woman who I saw her at a business meeting, and she looked very young. She looked very young, but I knew she couldn't be very young because I knew her son was sitting there. He was like 50 or something, and she looked young. And then she got up, and she had to walk down a set of stairs, and she walked so crookedy. It was really weird. This young face on this hardly moving body. But in the time that I'm describing, everybody's going to have everything, it's not going to have crickety nothing. So let's try losing weight, which I have been doing. Not something you're supposed to talk, well, yeah. This is a worldwide, no, maybe not worldwide, but this is, things that we are engaged in. And I think there's a lot more to it than, there's a lot more to it. I mean, there's a lot more to vanity, than meets the eye, if you wanted to explore vanity. So who has the soprano has it?
Bar 15.
Oh, yes.
Bar 15.
Yeah.
So the way we have these things set up is that there's a cue, and we decide who has the cue. In the last one, the guitar had the cue. In this one, the soprano has the cue, because we're usually coming out of improvisations into these things, and we want to make that movement smooth, so we have these cues.
I just thought.
Huh?
John's been watching all these things about dinosaurs. So it's kind of like it's the mating call, and we all know when to come together. Right? Okay.
Well, I never thought of myself as a dinosaur. That's the thing. I mean, I might be kind of crude, but I've never thought of myself as a dinosaur. Okay.
Well, some future age might think of us that way, though.
Well,
Well, of course you're a
absolutely.
dinosaur. I mean, you're a cauliflower too. 70% of your DNA is like cauliflower. I mean, we are everything, and everything's us.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
That explains a lot.
that is the window into our next piece.
I feel so much better now that I think of myself as cauliflower.
Yeah, really.
It's-
Let's try it.
Okay.
Sometimes
The window.
You
can't
sat habits breakfast in the window. Well, if you could see this piece of paper, you would see it was like crazy mazy all over the place. But you can't see the piece of paper. Can we try it one more time,
Yes.
ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen?
Definitely.
Before we do it, I just want to, Beth and I went to this play that was with this playwright director. It was a lot of sort of Hollywood type people, or at least that's what it looked like in the audience. It's kind of very slender women with big breasts and long blonde hair and pretty faces, but you know, not happy. And
Not happy. Bern,
Boy.
do something.
I was going to say they need you.
okay, so in this play, there's talking about, in this play, there was a scene where the actress in this play, there were like several, there were maybe 4 or 5 characters. Parts of the play were good, but most of it sort of fell apart. And the actress had to do a nude scene, full frontal nude scene, and walking, you know, and the thing that struck me, I mean, not that I don't applaud nudity being, you know, I do, you know, that we've passed that line, but this was an exploitation of this woman, and because you didn't learn I didn't learn anything more about the director, the writer-director didn't seem to know, wasn't going to share us anything more insight into the sexual habits of these particular people. He was just going to show that they had sex, you know, okay. And he could have given us more information that would have been more useful even in understanding what was going on between them sexually in different kinds of expressive costuming. But the only insight I got was that it was his limitations, his intellectual, the director, writer, his intellectual and probably sexual limitations. That's all I got out of this. And his relationships with his cast and his audience. The fact that he had the ability to make this young woman do this scene. Look what I can do. You know, he presented that as, you know, he's like a bully. He was a bully. It was a bullyish thing to do. And party chatter a little bit above it, and you know, he wasn't out on a limb. He hadn't exposed himself. Of course he had, but in a way that was acceptable. He had, you know, tighter, you know, climb the mountain. I went to graduate school as a grown person, and I faced prejudice that I would imagine that a lot of people do that go to school older. And I'm not talking about from my fellow students, although there certainly was that too, but it was the biggest problem came from the professors, because they didn't get any props from me from being the age they were, and that was built into the kind of the whole way that they, you know, set up their control mechanisms. And I'm a professor now too, and I have a little more sympathy with what they were doing, but not much. And it was like I was pulling out one of the legs from their stool, you know, their three-legged stool. It unbalanced them and it angered them. And I remember when I was going up for a big scholarship that unfortunately I didn't get. It hurt me badly. But one of the people on the panel said to me, "What makes you think you can go back to school at this point?" I don't know, honey. You know, it just seemed like a good idea, and I did it. And I've always been kind of an independent person. I mean, even when I was 5, I might not have given them too many props for their age. I don't know, you know. And I wasn't interested in imitating them, or you know, so excited by their achievements. And that was partly because I was ignorant of their achievements, maybe, and because you know that's who I am. But they didn't like it, and they gave me grief. Let's try Alfred Hitchcock's Construction.
This has a kind of an interesting origin story, right?
Well, I really like the way Alfred Hitchcock puts together films, and there's one scene in To Catch a Thief. It's a seduction scene between, one of the many seduction scenes between Grace Kelly and Cary Grant when they're out on they've taken a ride in this wonderful sports car, and they've stopped, and she's made this little lovely little upper class lunch with little peasant beers and a drumstick from chicken, you know, and they're eating there and they're talking and they're playing this power game, the seduction power game, one with the other, you know, and there's pieces of the plot in there, and I particularly like that. I think that's a very well designed, constructive thing. I mean, I don't know what Alfred Hitchcock was looking at in the course of his career, but it was. I also like this other film he did where there was a serial murderer. It was towards the end of his career. It was absolutely marvelous, I thought. Anyway, so I don't know what else to say about it, except I was thinking about his, you know, his building of stories, the way you build a building, you know, so called it Alfred Hitchcock's construction. And that's the way I build music. So should I count it off?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're gonna do the cue too?
What's the key?
And the cue is the soprano, bar
I know,
50.
that's right.
Okay.
Okay, so let me, well, you're gonna count it off, because you're gonna give the cue.
Okay. I won't count it off. I'll just give the cue. How's that?
Okay, the cue is the count off. As we tape this, we're a week away from an explosion that took place in Boston, at the Boston Marathon, and then this incredible hunt, completely in Army gear, through the streets of Boston and closing down the streets of Boston to catch this guy. The whole thing is, I don't know. It's scary. Not so much that this guy. I mean, it's scary what this guy did. It's also scary what the powers that be did in response to what this guy did, and what's going to happen next. You know, like I remember this story from ancient Rome. The really bad thing when Caesar, I think it was Caesar or somebody like that. I don't know if I saw it in a movie or it was a real story. Said you can't march the troops into the city center. This is just not done. With the Praetorian Guard, I think it was. We don't march the Praetorian Guard into the center of the city. That's not something that's not right, and that's antithetical to the Roman idea of, you know, the value of Rome and its citizenry. And I sure as heck saw the Praetorian Guard march into Boston, you know, and more of the Praetorian.
It was at Caesar Victor Mature, you saw.
Yeah.
It was Victor Mature wasn't gonna march in with the Praetorian Guard.
I think Laurence Olivier was in it, so I
Laurence
don't think
Olivier was in it.
so I don't think it was Victor Mature. There was two different flicks. But anyway, that's what we saw, and I like to, as we make these to date them in time, so that you and us and, you know, we can know what were the things that were acting on us, or, you know, the latest events. Not the only thing that's acting on us. So that's what happened a week ago, and it's an ongoing. And they're not going to read him his Miranda rights, and you know, half or more of Guantanamo's on hunger strike, and more than half of Guantanamo's never been charged with anything, and they're sitting there, you know, for 10 years. And when are you going to let us out? I'll tell you. Things are getting better all the Thanks for watching The Facts. Thanks for joining us. You can find us online and watch all the episodes, and there's a whole bunch of different things going on there, different episodes, different kind of thing. You know, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and of course I hope you come back again later.